I'm Dr. Thorn. I'll be your moderator and guest host. No, I am the host. So, anyway, yeah, this is our uh, opportunity to just talk to you and get to know you, and you get to know us. I say us. Dr. Evie is behind the camera today. Will be moderating and working through the questions, providing me the questions, and yeah. But that's the idea. And do we have an initial question?
Yes. So, one question I received was, how do you know if you actually love someone or just love how they make you feel about yourself?
How do you know you love someone,
Or just love how they make you feel
or
about yourself?
how they make you feel about yourself? Ooh, that's a tough one.
Mm.
Because it's actually kind of both. I mean, it is possible, of course, to love someone that you don't like. And so not picking on the parent child relationship, but if you didn't have necessarily a great childhood, it is possible to, of course, love the parent, um, even though things were not ideal. So it is possible to love and not like how someone makes you feel. But again, that's not ideal. I don't think there's anything wrong or bad for being in love with someone and also enjoying how they make you feel. That's part of the joy, and that's what we want. We want joy and happiness. Now, being with someone simply because of how they make you feel, that's a crazy dynamic. I mean, that's not something you want. That's not long lasting. My goal in life is not to surround myself, pardon me, with like yes men. I am not looking to be. My friends can challenge me, and I love my friends. My friends don't have to agree with me, and that's okay. That doesn't do anything to our love. We love each other. But the fun of fraternal love, platonic love, is that you are experiencing love, but there's also that opportunity to feel good about not just yourself, but hopefully you make them feel good, and you all together just have a good time together. I think that that's what really is the hallmark of a good, healthy, loving relationship, and I mean that with friends. The that fraternal and paternalistic, and not paternalistic love, the platonic love, and then of course getting into romantic love. You, uh, my wife, Dr. Evie, um, is amazing, and it is a joy and a pleasure to be in and around uh, Evie's company. Uh, she's bright, she's witty, and so there's just so much joy just being around. And then of course, she Evie really um, makes me feel good about myself too, and that's really nice. I mean, I like me, so I'm okay there. I have a healthy sense of self love, but there's nothing wrong with coming away from an interaction and being like, "Oh, she genuinely likes me, and I like how she makes me feel." So, I think it's both. It's kind of a double edged sword. So yeah, it is possible to love someone and then also love how they make you feel. So that's kind of my answer there.
So, we got another question
Mhm.
via email. Why do some people only feel attracted to people who don't choose them?
Why do some people feel attracted to only people who don't choose them?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm not a clinician. I'm a spiritual counselor. So I'm not giving advice. I'm not giving psychological advice. As always, and you'll hear me say this all the time, seek therapy. If you have questions, if you feel like you've got some deep seated questions, if you've got some big whys that need to be answered, it never hurts to talk to a licensed counselor. I am not licensed to counsel you in the state you're in right now, but I am a spiritual counselor. That's a tough one. So I say it's a tough one. It's a tough one to hear. Um, if you find that you are um, attracted to someone who is not interested, that's the question, right? Is that they're
Yes, yes, yes. The specific phrasing was they were wondering why some people only feel attracted to those who
only
don't choose them.
only attracted to people who don't choose them.
Unrequited love, I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
say.
yeah. There's unrequited, and then there's, I guess that there's the gradient.
Hmm.
Is it is it like a parasocial? And I really like this celebrity, and God, I love them. Um, let's not you know read too much into it, because you're never going to meet them. That relationship is never to be. I read this, I hear this more like a situation of you have proximity to the person that you're talking to, or that you have affection for. You love this person, you're interacting with them, but they want nothing to do with you. One, you have to respect that decision. If they don't feel the same way towards you, and they are not responding to you in kind, well, that's the way it is. I mean, you can't change that. And it shouldn't be your goal to change someone's opinion of you, you know, unrealistically. If for some reason, you have some measure of contact with this individual, and they've decided to, you know, not pursue anything romantic with you, you know, I would not pursue them. I would say go do good things. Go and show yourself to be a good person. Show yourself to be someone that is, um, a good romantic partner. That's a bad way of saying it. I don't mean go be a good romantic partner. Go show yourself to be someone who cares. Show yourself to be someone who is empathetic. Maybe that'll get their attention. But again, you shouldn't focus your attention in that direction, towards someone that has already made a decision in your relationship, because it is both of you. It is not just you towards them. For someone, so again, this is not clinical advice, but if you find yourself constantly being attracted to people who don't respond to you, that's definitely a situation where you need to talk to a therapist. I mean, because how long has that been going on? Is this a deep-seated issue? Let me tell a Freud joke and ask you, tell me about your mom. I mean, again, I'm not diagnosing, but what was your relationship with your parents? I mean, these are questions you can ask yourself. I'm not diagnosing you, but if you feel this constant need to pursue those who are not interested in being pursued by you, that's um that's a you issue. And so that's definitely something you need to explore, something you need to think about. Why do you want to put yourself? And again, this is kind of getting into psychotherapy, not my field of expertise, but why would you keep putting yourself in a situation where you face rejection? So I mean, again, this is something that you're not going to get an answer like that. You're going to have to sit there and talk to a therapist, and you're going to have to talk about a lot of things. And does this appear elsewhere? Do you have this whole thing of, uh, self-fulfilling prophecies? Are you your greatest enemy, sort of thing? What's going on there? Why would you end up in situations where rejection occurs often? So that's my unprofessional opinion, and my call to go talk to a therapist. So
Good to work through stuff in a
yeah,
professional
yeah, yeah,
setting.
yeah. There's a lot to talk about there with someone who's qualified to listen to you on that. But what's the next question?
So Alyssa asks, why is it so hard to let go of somebody who wasn't even good for you?
Oh, okay.
We've all been there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And Dr. Evie and I have been together for a while. Dr. Evie is aware of my past loves, my yester loves. Um,
I love that term.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, I'm not crazy about the term ex. I think that there are heavy connotations with that, and I prefer to be more romantic about it. Yester loves. These were people I loved, and we loved each other, and it was great, until for some reason that relationship needed to end. And so for me, a yester love is a wonderful way of referring to people, that you had relationships with in the past. So the question again is,
Oh, yes. Why is it
The
so hard to let go
let
of
go.
somebody who wasn't even good for you or good for you to
Oh,
begin with?
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Believe it or
So
not, maybe like they were bad in the beginning, or maybe it's like, oh, you guys you were in a toxic dynamic, your energy frequencies
right,
weren't quite matching. But there's something about that that's really, it's so
yeah,
hard to let go.
yeah. So
Why is
it's
it?
yeah, it's kind of tough to let go because honestly, you probably were having a good time. There was something in that relationship that made it really enjoyable. I mean, and without details, getting into my details, I mean, there were relationships that were fantastic. I cherish them to this day. I'm happy that I had those opportunities. I'm happy that we had the love and the experiences that we did. There were also reasons why we probably did not need to be together. There were probably reasons why we needed to split at some point. Um, and but I think of course the healthy response is to look at it in those in that manner. You've got to be able to recognize the good and the bad, and acknowledge that for all the good things you've got to also see the bad. And I think that oftentimes people will they swing one way or the other with this issue. They either romanticize all the good stuff that was in a bad relationship, or they go the opposite direction and just like, oh, I hate my ex, and just oh, I saw a post on another platform, and it was a terrible post, and someone was said, don't worry, your ex isn't going to heaven. And I'm just like, God, that is a terrible, terrible attitude.
That's awful.
I mean, and I get it. People have had some terrible experiences. I understand that. Barring it being criminal, I mean, just because our feelings got hurt, and that's important. I mean, I'm not downplaying that. People don't deserve eternal damnation because the relationship didn't work out, because there were arguments, because there were, harsh words said. Like I said, barring, criminal activity, good Lord, let's just chalk up the relationship to what it was and call it an end. So, I see this, people tend to go one way or the other. I try to be a little more romantic about it. I try to be more forgiving. And so that would be my advice. If you're having a hard time letting go of something, a relationship that was not the best for you, and you have that feeling of wanting to return, acknowledge it. Think about it, and it's like, yes, I had some wonderful experiences. There were some wonderful elements, but there were also reasons why the relationship ended. There were reasons why that relationship had to end, and we should be grateful for both. I think that's something else. You've got to be grateful for the good and the bad. And I'm not entirely a dualist, and I'm certainly more in the vein of a hedonist. Um, I, I I want pleasure. I want happiness, but that doesn't mean that you pursue pleasure, happiness, to the exclusion of everything bad. You have to acknowledge the bad elements of the relationship, or the bad elements of that relationship. So yeah, that's a tough one. I'm sorry if you're kind of stuck in that place where you can't let go. But I would say that being grateful for the good and the bad is a good place to start. So I'm sorry. What's the next one?
Yeah. Um, do people fall in love with who you are or how you make them feel?
Both. Yes. My
Yes.
answer is yes. But that's okay. That's also a good thing. Um, I I hope that I say I hope, and I generally feel I know that I make Dr. Evie feel good. I am Dr. Evie's biggest fan. Uh,
Should hope so.
Evie is amazing. Yeah, like I said, witty, intelligent, beautiful, artistic, creative. I mean, I could go on and on. And yeah, that's. I think that's valid. I think it's okay. And should that be the only thing? No. What was the first part of the question? It was
Yeah. Do,
the
do people fall in love with who you are or
who
just how
you
you
are.
make them feel?
Well, I mean, see, there you go. And I'm talking about how I hope I make you feel. Um, you know, uh, yeah, I think that I think it's both. I mean, hopefully, in my case, I hope that I am a good person, a good enough person. I hope that I am, I hope I'm smart enough. I hope that I have these good redeeming qualities to be loving. I hope that I am loving as well. Um, and so, yes, is it just simply just based on um, Dr. Evie's love for me that feeds my love? That's an element of it, but that's not all of it. It's my experience of living day to day. There are the grand romantic moments. Our first date was huge. It was great. It was big. Crazy first date, but there's also the day to day thing. You gotta feed the cats. You gotta wash the dishes. You gotta live together. And if you can find the joy and the enjoyment in those times, that's what does it. So I would say yes to both.
Yes. All right. So, um, do you think that a spark could actually be a red flag sometimes? What people might perceive as a spark, like a magnetic or ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm a romantic. Dr. Evie's gonna counter me on this one, but I'm a romantic. And can a spark be a red flag? Yes, but if you are in a position to pursue that spark, if you're in a position to enjoy that feeling, I say pursue it. I mean, unless it's like your shared mutual love for a certain illicit substance that that's felony worthy. I too love H. No, that's a whole other issue to to deal with.
Thinking about the new Crow movie?
What's that?
Thinking about the new Crow movie or something?
I don't know what you're saying.
Never mind.
Okay, so I'm just saying, if you were sparking over, you know, Grand Theft Auto, not the game, I too love chopping up cars and stuff. No, 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 no. I'm kidding. But if that's what you're, if you've got, if you got a spark with someone, I say pursue it. I say have fun. Unless you recognize or you've been told, hey, wow, this behavior is really something, and then you find someone that's also really into that behavior, and you're like, I've been told that's bad behavior. That might be something to explore. But generally speaking, though I used to live for those moments. I used to enjoy. I enjoyed dating. I enjoyed meeting people and going out, and I like that opportunity to, is there something that we are, yeah, sparking over? Is there something? Is there some fire there? And exploring that, maybe it's just for that night, maybe it's for a week, a month, who knows? But yeah, I always say, if it fires you, if you feel it, chase it. It's good. So,
Cool. Um, what do you think is the difference between a soulmate and someone who just feels really familiar?
someone who's a soulmate versus someone who feels really familiar.
Yeah, is there like a magic switch? I guess is probably what this person's asking. Like
Yeah, yeah,
decide.
I can.
Do you believe in soulmates? That's my question. That
Okay,
was a
see,
part of this listener's question, but
that
that's my answer to
that's the hard part for me. I don't believe in soulmates. So, but I want to answer the question. So, taking me out of it, yeah, I understand the concept of soulmates. I get it. I get how romantic that is. Yeah, I would have to say, in my experience, again, there are just there are some women who have been in my life. When we hang out, we just fall into very predictable routines. We can go shopping together, like literally, we'll go to the grocery store for something, and then we're just like grocery shopping, and like we've done this for years. That's just comfort. That's just we've known each other for a long time. We're friends, and so we just fall into patterns of speech. We fall into just it's a really good friendship, and we know each other, and so we behave in such a manner. Are we romantically connected? No, no. We don't have that soul connection, deep friendship, deep loyalty, but that's we're not, we wouldn't date. Um, so yeah, I would say there is a difference between that. And so using Dr. Evie and I as an example, I yeah, I feel a deep connection with Evangeline. Evie is great. I know that a look, a word, and we get it all. And you can have that with a friend, but there's just something more that that Evie and I have that I don't have with others. And I would say that that's probably the difference between the soul connection and someone that you're just really connected with, good
Both are
with.
good. Both
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
necessary.
Both are good. You should have that. I think it makes both relationships. There's no superiority one over the other. I think you should have those close connections. And this is why digressing from the question, this is why I don't believe in soul mates. Um, you know, I just have deep connections with a lot of people. Some connections are certainly deeper than others. You know, one of my deepest connections is with my wife, but I also have deep connections with other people, and that's good. You should have that, and
That's healthy.
yeah, it's healthy, and it makes I think it makes all the relationships all that much better. So that's my thought there. Sorry.
Cool, cool. Um, Here's one from someone named Justin's asking, why do some relationship connections feel impossible to replace even years later? I guess once a relationship is over,
Mm-hmm.
years later, it's like maybe it's like you're always chasing that high of how good that relationship was, and you
That
can't find anything to replace it.
yeah. That's that I think I feel like it feels like that relates to question like two questions ago because you know a letting go and again there are just certain times and places that just can't be recaptured. You know, think pre-COVID, post-COVID. You know, pre-COVID, there were a lot of opportunities to be out and about in the world, and society felt different. I mean, we were out clubbing and we were doing all these things. You know, a relationship that you had at that point, you know, where you were, I would say, you probably felt more carefree. You know, you're just out and about. You're just out doing things. It's kind of and then COVID came, and then life changed with it. Third spaces weren't as available. You know, you couldn't go clubbing, you couldn't go out the way you used to. You know, so there was an opportunity for loss there, and so there's a nostalgia for that. And of course, when you add the emotional component that you were in love with someone. You had the best of all worlds. You had love, you had experience, you had everything that made that moment. And it doesn't have to be grand experiences. Uh, there are just there are times when you were just I would say long ago um, going for a drive, just driving around. There used to be a day when it was uncommon. It was not uncommon to just fill up the car and go for a drive and just spend the day driving around. Those, that I don't feel like that happens that much anymore. I feel like life has gotten more complicated. I feel like, there's the economic thought of, that's a lot of money put into fuel. Um, but yeah, just the opportunity to just get in the car, drive around, go see things and places that doesn't exist anymore. And if you got to do that with someone that you were attached to and you had this relationship with, yeah, you could definitely find yourself today reminiscing and feeling nostalgic for, a past experience that's either unable to be recreated, or if you recreate it, I think there's also an element of the spontaneity. Was the event spontaneous? Did you just kind of end up in this great environment, great scenario, this moment, and then if you ever try to recreate it, it's just not the same, and that can be a big part of it too, is that if you're forcing it, trying to recapture, that's a tough one. So
I guess that's part of what makes things in life so beautiful, is how fleeting they are, right? It's
yes,
just in a poetic way, not even
right,
in a metaphysical sense.
yeah. I mean, all you have is the now, and unfortunately the present does slip into the past, and sometimes that's all you got, and that's not all you got, but that was something that you really had at that moment, and you know it it's gone, and so you can try to recapture it, but the conditions today now just aren't the same. And when you're putting that kind of conscientious thought into creating, recreating, I think that's the thing is when you're trying to recreate that experience, you can't play. Evie loves to play video games. Um, I think there's and I've seen it in meme form. Do you wish you could go back and play a game like you did the first time? And experience that wonder and the puzzles and the everything, re-experiencing that again for the first time. Yeah, but you can't. You can play the game again, and you can feel elements of the like. Oh yeah, I really like this part, but you already know it's there.
Lord of
So
the Rings online.
yeah,
I could only go back to 2009.
yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, that's my thought there.
So here's another question. What do you think? What creates real chemistry, and can it be built, or is it instant?
Both, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm going to answer yes on this one. Yeah, I think that there are. This goes back to the spark question. There are some people I know. I've sat down, met someone, we're drinking, we're dancing, whatever. We're in some environment where you meet someone new, and suddenly the conversation just starts to flow. One of my yester loves met me for like an hour, and then came up to me a little bit later and was like, we are going to be friends. I mean, it was like known that things just, words spoken, things happened. And yeah, it's just understood that you've just got that immediate chemistry. Yeah, so there's that spark. But at the same time, the chemistry can grow, and meeting someone, you already have that initial spark. You already have that initial chemistry. There's something already there. You don't. I would say it's probably pretty rare that you would end up in a situation, in in our, I would say in our culture here in the United States, arranged marriages aren't as common as they once were, or are in other uh, locations. Um, so it's fairly uncommon for a person to just end up in a situation where they have to build a relationship with someone brand new. It's pretty rare that you're just placed in a room with someone and told, okay, now live. It can happen, and you can build that chemistry. This is just a part of learning each other, and I think that even in established relationships, people who marry for love and choice, um, there's the initial element, there's the initial part of who you think you are and who you think they are, and then of course after a couple months, and we've argued about, is the toilet over or under, toilet paper over or under, who takes out the garbage, that sort of thing. Once you've started to work through living together, chemistry starts to build there. So yeah, I would say both.
Why do you think some people become obsessed with someone they barely know? And I don't think that this person is asking about celebrities necessarily from the context of the question. I think it's more about like limerence and sometimes you can have maybe more common in teenagers, but I think this could happen to anyone at any age, just becoming absolutely obsessed with somebody even without really knowing who they are as a person.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, that's again, not a clinician, not a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, but I mean, definitely, I think we can all see the word projection, together. So, I mean, people will project, and so, I'm guilty of this. When I was younger, it wasn't uncommon for me to look at, at a fellow young lady, and I'd be like, "Ooh, wow! You'll complete me. You are everything I'm looking for." I was a very, very interesting child, a young man, and so but I think that's an element of the society that we grow up with, grow up in. I think growing up, I'll just keep it here to the United States. Growing up in the United States, growing up with Disney, growing up with the love stories that we're told from childhood up, we're told of these stories where it's just true love, immediately known. we have an idea of ourselves, and so then we build this idea of what would complete us, who what our ideal would be. And so we create this template, and then you meet someone who, of 10 categories, we'll say, or 10 criteria, they meet two of them. Well, then, it's pretty easy to start kind of, if you were not approaching this realistically, it's pretty easy to start to slot in some of those other characteristics. And this is where we begin to squint and like, oh, well, maybe they, and this is both, this is on both sides, or we'll say on all sides. People of all sorts will start to fill in the gaps, and create the partner without the person even knowing. I mean, there are plenty of memes, and how many times have you met someone, talked to someone, literally standing in line. Everyone's just getting coffee, or whatever. You're getting coffee, you're talking to someone, and suddenly you can imagine an entire life with them. I mean, that's romantic. It's fun, but that's also not realistic, and that's certainly not them. In truth, you don't know anything about them. So it's fun to project that, and I say it's fun because it does give us a bit of an opportunity to play with imagination. Unfortunately, there's a real person at the other end of that. So have some fun, but I think there also needs to be that ability to recognize that you don't know them. And shoot your shot, see if maybe you can get to know them, but don't start out with the template. Allow them, and this is the joy of relationships, meet them and try to learn about them. That's what I used to really enjoy about dating. I really enjoy dating, because I love learning about people. I think it's fun to listen. What interests you? Tell me, because I'm terribly interested in a lot of things. So I'm happy to talk about all sorts of subjects. What fires you? What gets you excited? Talk to me. Tell me about it. And that's fun when you can do that in that kind of dating scenario. But again, be cognizant. I think a lot of what this comes down to is having self awareness. And so feel the spark, enjoy the spark, look for chemistry, enjoy the chemistry. Don't project too much. Have an idea. I was gonna say that's the other thing is the projection that you have. Don't make that hard and fast. I think a lot of, and now I'm going to pick on guys for this. I think a lot of guys have this set model of an idea of what they want as a partner, and that's unfair to the partner, because you may have ideas of what you think you want, but the joy of a relationship is learning who that person is and who are they, what do they bring, what do they do. That's enjoyable. Um, because that's the human experience. I mean, we're not buying an appliance. The appliances come with features. You buy an appliance based on features. You engage with people because they're people. That's fun. That's the joy. That's where love and experience comes from. So sorry, that was a lot right there.
See, we've got a few more. Um, this viewer asks, can you actually feel when someone is pulling away from you energetically? Or is that just anxiety?
Oh, and the answer today is yes. The answer is yes to everything. No. Yes, you can feel without communication. I'm sure you can, because I've experienced this. It is possible to begin to feel a drawing away, or an ending of the relationship. That's just intuition, but that also means you have to be paying attention to the relationship, and hopefully you would be engaged in the relationship to spot this early. You know, if it comes as a surprise, what were you doing? I mean, and I get it. We're busy. Job, kids, all the things that are going on in life. It's possible to, I guess, miss the cues. But if that's the case, if you're missing cues in the relationship, then the relationship was already struggling. You've got to be. Dr. Evie and I are. We try to work on the relationship every day. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, some little thing. And some people have advice of like, oh, be sure to hug for a minute a day, or make sure to kiss, and whatever it is for you. Um, but those little things matter. Those little moments keep the relationship fresh and hold things together. And when that starts to slip, that's your early indicator. If, like I said, if you reach a point where you're like you feel like you're waking up and it's like, what's happening in my relationship, you've really got some repairing to do at that point. So yes, you can definitely feel it. Oops, just lost the light. But I was going to say what was the second part of the question?
Yes.
So it's like, do you
That
feel
was
it
yeah. When
energetically?
can you actually feel when somebody is pulling away from you energetically,
Hmm.
or is it just anxiety?
Okay, so the other part of it. Okay, so yeah, anxiety. Yes. I would. So you can definitely be nervous about the. You can be nervous about the relationship, and that's valid. But if you feel nervous about the relationship, if you feel anxiety about the relationship, then there's something to explore. I mean, and again, I'm going to point to couples counseling. You've got to talk to someone. Of course, start with a partner, but I would explore couples counseling. I would go and talk to someone and explore either couples counseling or go seek counseling for yourself. That's the thing. If it's kind of, we'll say one way. If I'm nervous about the relationship, if I have anxiety about the relationship, that's something I need to explore for myself. And then I need to go and talk to a professional and explain this to them, and then let them ask the right questions. They're going to be they're going to be concerned, and they're going to be curious. Why do you feel anxiety in the relationship? What is going unfulfilled in the relationship? What would be anxiety producing for you? Are there, do you not have enough physical intimacy? Do you not share enough interests together? What are these things? And then of course, as you begin to identify this becomes definitely a conversation with your partner as to open communication. I need, I want, I like, I feel. We'll go with the classic therapy joke of I feel statements. So I feel that I need more intimacy. I feel I need more engagement on our shared hobbies, or I feel we need a shared hobby, something like that. But all of that revolves around communication. I would say first with oneself, with a therapist, and then with the partner. And if you and the partner actually have a great level of communication, maybe you don't have to go to the therapist immediately, but I would certainly try to get things right in yourself. Try to explore why you're anxious, not just generalized anxiety about the relationship. Are you anxious about infidelity? Why would you think that? Is there some level of what's causing that thought? If that's the case, write it down. I'm a big proponent of grab your phone, open up a note, and take notes. These are the things that make me anxious. These are why these things make me anxious. And then sit down with your partner and tell them, hey, I've got these thoughts in my head. What's going on? And I don't mean you fix it for me, but this is what's going on with me. Am I missing something? What's going on communication wise? So big explanation to say yes and talk more.
It's good advice. A lot of people need to talk more.
Yes.
Um, Daniela asks, what makes someone unforgettable in a relationship? How do you make yourself unforgettable while in
Oh,
a relationship?
so I mean, that's have character. I mean, so I'm going to pick on guys here. Um, what does Winston Wolfe say in Pulp Fiction towards the end when he makes it to Monster Joe's? He says, he introduces the daughter of Monster Joe, and says that she's he says you're a character. You don't have character, but you are a character. And they're teasing, but that's, I would say that's good advice for guys. Don't, if you want to take an improv class to learn how to joke and talk, cool. But get some character. Don't build yourself online. Don't listen to, we'll say manosphere, guys. Don't listen to alpha people and things like that. Don't listen to other people's idea of what is unforgettable and what is character building and all that. Go build your own character. Go learn who you are, and you will find that people will take note of you. People will know you for something. Maybe it's visual. I mean, I got a beard. People comment on the beard. I'm not the beard. The beard is just something I have.
It's your
I,
character being customized.
yeah. I'm customizing a physical characteristic of myself, but I have character. I've gone out and I've lived a life. I have done a lot of things. I've put myself out into the world, and in doing so, I learned a lot about myself, and I've come to become um, kind, and I have, I have character because of that. And so for many people, I'm very memorable for different things, and I'm memorable to different people for different things. So how to be how to be memorable? Live your life, and live your life specifically. Don't wear another character. What's the other meme? I just watched a new movie. I have a new character for I have a new persona for the next 3 months, sort of thing. After everyone watched The Matrix, everyone wanted a trench coat, and
I wore mine all the
yeah,
time. I wanted to be Trinity so bad.
we get it. It's inspiring to see stories and feel those moments. Um, I would let that inform you, and what's the story of the Matrix, it's not that you put on the trench coat, it's that you begin to explore your world and learn about your world, and what happens underneath, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would say go and live life, go and you'll become memorable. You gain character, and then you'll kind of become a character. So, yeah, and then in a relationship, what makes you memorable? Whatever pleases your partner, and find out what that is. Find out, what is something that they like about you. What's part of that initial attraction sort of thing. Then, if that's the case, maybe play it up a little. So, you
That's
know.
really worked on me. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy being with you so much is because you always have all these cool stories and interesting tales about your character building experiences. But like for real, it's never boring. So that is a very a very valid point.
Yes. Yeah. What's next?
Okay, we'll have a few more so far. Someone is asking, what does it really mean to be quote unquote chosen in love, and why do so many people crave that?
What is it to be chosen in love?
Yes, what does it really mean to be chosen in love, and why do so many people crave it? I guess opposed to like maybe a casual relationship, but like when somebody's super actively being like, "Oh yes, you are my person. We are together."
I think that's probably what leads to it in some cases. And again, I think that this is part of our culture, broadly speaking, in U.S. culture and the love stories that we're told. This idea of being the chosen one or being chosen. It's a nice feeling. Um, but I wouldn't rely on that. I think that there are many relationships that are very successful where people just grow together. So that's a fun experience, to have long term, to spend time with each other, and really kind of grow into that relationship. And at that point, whenever there's a question of this chosenness, it's then at that point that it becomes very noticeable. It's almost unspoken. Well, of course, so and so is important to me. I couldn't live life without them. So sometimes you grow into that. I would say that this goes back to spark and chemistry. There are other times where you meet someone, and there's some hope. I'll say, Dr. Evie was, very very in demand. Dr. Evie, it was very, very, very interesting, very cute, very gadfly. Just wonderful person. Big social circle, and so Dr. Evie had, there were a lot of people in her sphere, in her circle. I just happened to be introduced into that sphere, and I was intrigued, of course. And I mean, I was like, wow, what person? Um, and then for the conversation to actually kind of take off from there, and it's like, oh, me, and it's not that it's not that I was what would you say? I wasn't exactly I was happy. I was having fun. I was living my life. I wasn't like in any sort of situation where it's like, oh, woe is me. God, I wish I had a relationship. Actually, I wasn't looking for a relationship when I met Dr. Evie. But as soon as the attention was there, oh, okay, cool, yeah, and then I will say things progress rapidly from there. But yes, being selected, being chosen is it's a nice feeling. I don't know how to make that happen aside from just that kind of romantic, the stars align and everything is just kind of working out. So yeah, I hope you find it.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing to experience. I hope everyone gets to experience that. Here's another question we got. Do you believe that certain people are meant to find each other, or is love always a choice?
Are people meant to find each other, or is love? Oh, okay. So as much as I say I'm a romantic, and I am a romantic, I don't I don't believe in fated love. I love the idea, and honestly, this is why I love Dracula love story. This is why I love love stories, and I see love stories everywhere. And I don't mean just like Hallmark, love stories or romance things like that. I mean, um, I look for the romance. I look for the love story in most stories, and yeah, because I love the idea. I love that two people come together, meet each other, and yes, and that star fated love is there. It's beautiful. I wish that were the case. Honestly, I think it's what was the other term used that was in the question?
Oh,
It was
was um, do you believe certain people are meant to find each other, or is love always a choice?
okay. So love is a choice. So yeah, that's where I was headed. Is yeah. Unfortunately, I think that love is a choice, and that's not bad. That's not unromantic. I think it's beautiful. I think it's fun. I think if you can find someone with that spark, if you can find that chemistry, then yes, you can kind of build from there. But I don't believe in fated love. So I would say, um, what's the if you can't find the one you love the one you're with. So that's terrible. But it's an old saying. I would say find your love and find the love in the relationship. And I'm not saying stay in a bad relationship or anything like that. Obviously, if things are not healthy, if things aren't good, you got to get out of that. But you know, if you're dating, you know, I would say, why are you dating? And date for fun. Date for fun. Date and enjoy yourself. If you're dating for love, that puts a lot of strain and a lot of pressure on the relationship. And is that what the other person is dating for? So you've got to, do your priorities align. So are you dating to find a partner? Ooh, okay, that's a lot. But does the other person know this? So don't ambush them with, oh, by the way, I've already planned out our lives together, and then be surprised if they're surprised. So you know, yeah,
It is fun in books and movies, though.
yes,
The
yes,
concept is really romantic.
I love the idea, and I wish it were true. And maybe it's true for some, but I've yet to see it.
So we have one last question from viewers. How do you become the kind of person who experiences the cinematic fairy tale love?
Ooh, cinematic fairy tale love. How do you experience that?
How do you
Uh,
become the kind of
how do you
person?
become the kind of person to experience that?
Yeah, maybe they're thinking that like you can sort of attract it to your life if you act a certain way.
Yeah, well, I think that that's very much the case. Dr. Evie and I are very romantic, and we have a rich kind of life, internal life, and we share that vision. There's kind of an aesthetic to that, And so, to I guess to have that sort of cinematic fairy tale type love, you've got to put the little effort into it. I mean, and for some people, it's very natural. Some people are very whimsical from the start. That's cool. If you can find a person full of whimsy, someone who is joyful like that, that's a joy. That's a pleasure. And you should meet them with that same level of whimsy. You should meet them with that same level of imagination. Um, and it's, I would say, maybe initially, if you're not used to it, it's going to take some thought. You're going to have to imagine this this romantic way of living. um, you know uh, you know build your cottage, live in the little meadow that you would imagine, or whatever it is, whatever is fantasy and inspiring to you. um, we have day-to-day lives, and we live in the modern world. We live where we live, but whatever you can do to romanticize it, um, that's really important. And if you can embody that and kind of express that in some way, shape, or form. I was going back to Dr. Evie and I, when we first met. I had this. It's crazy. It's silly, and I won't show you. I had this kind of wizardly type belt buckle. Don't ask. I had a belt buckle, and it was like a wizard sort of thing, and I was a dork. Evie loved it, and just she saw it and thought, you are a nerd. And when she saw it, and that was the funniest thing. But it wasn't the belt buckle. It was that I would wear that. So it's just those little cues that you give to other people that lets them know, oh, you're cool, in whatever way you are looking for, that you're looking for in the way of cool. So, how do you get to that cinematic fairy tale type of love? You've got to start to embody it. You've got to want it. You've got to experience it yourself, and then start to express it. Start to express it. Put yourself in situations. Get around people who share that same level of whimsy and imagination that you have, and then it'll click. Then you'll find that spark that we were talking about earlier. You'll find that spark, and yeah, hopefully you can then build chemistry from there. So, whew, that was a lot. Thank you for the questions. Please keep sending us questions. I love talking to y'all. So yeah, email. Kindredheartsembrace.com. Go there. We've got a email subscription there. You can email us there, DM us on any of our platforms. Yeah, and send me your questions. I'm always curious to hear, and happy to help. Again, not a clinician, but happy to talk about anything. If you want to talk about lawn care, I'll talk lawn care. So
You have a lot of opinions on that.
I have a lot of opinions on lawn care.
Ours
So
looks great. It's very verdant.
but yeah, again, so yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Yeah, let's get some more questions together, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks. Bye.